In an act of profound yet characteristically discreet humanity, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales recently met with a small group of Palestinian children evacuated from the Gaza Strip to receive life-saving specialist care within the National Health Service. The meeting, held at an undisclosed location to protect the family's privacy, was not marked by fanfare or public spectacle. Instead, it was defined by a simple, powerful objective: to offer a moment of solace. A Kensington Palace spokesman, in comments to The Telegraph, stated that the prince wished to bring comfort to these young people and their families, adding that he had been moved by the courage shown by all he met. This private gesture, however, exists not in a vacuum. It is a single, compassionate stitch in a far broader and more complex tapestry. A tapestry woven with threads of personal conviction, evolving royal duty, and a consistent, deeply felt response to a humanitarian catastrophe. It represents a modern expression of royal influence, one that engages with global suffering through a lens of empathetic action, while being underpinned by a clear and carefully articulated moral framework. The visit itself was a focal point for gratitude, extending beyond the children to the systems supporting them. The palace spokesman emphasized that Prince William was able to offer his heartfelt gratitude to the NHS teams providing exceptional care during such a profoundly difficult time. This acknowledgement is crucial. It frames the act not as a singular intervention, but as a royal endorsement of the quiet, professional heroism unfolding daily in hospitals across the United Kingdom. Furthermore, the journey of these families, evacuated first to Jordan, where they were supported by British embassy staff through robust security procedures before traveling onward to the UK, highlights a coordinated governmental humanitarian effort. The prince's visit served as a human face to this official machinery, a moment of personal connection within a process of state-sponsored rescue. To understand the full weight of this meeting, one must look to the public words that preceded it. In February of this year, Prince William broke with the traditional royal norm of public neutrality on active geopolitical conflict to issue a deeply personal statement. "I remain deeply concerned about the terrible human cost of the conflict in the Middle East since the Hamas terrorist attack on 7 October, he said. "Too many have been killed." This was not a diplomatic platitude. It was a direct acknowledgement of overwhelming suffering. He continued, "I, like so many others, want to see an end to the fighting as soon as possible. There is a desperate need for increased humanitarian support for Gaza. It's critical that aid gets in and the hostages are released." These words established a cornerstone. They articulated a position grounded in a fundamental distress at civilian suffering, a call for pragmatic humanitarian relief, and a desire for peace. He concluded with a reflective, almost somber note. "Sometimes it is only when faced with the sheer scale of human suffering that the importance of permanent peace is brought home." This statement was significant not only for its content, but for its existence. It marked a conscious, strategic departure from the late Queen Elizabeth II's lifelong policy of avoiding public commentary on politically charged international matters. Released on the Prince and Princess of Wales's official social media channel, in stark white text on a black background, the message was visually and tonally crafted for gravity and reach. This departure was both stylistic and substantive. The monarchy, under the Prince of Wales's generation, appears to be navigating a new path, one where the power of its global platform is used to highlight humanitarian crises with a more explicit, though still meticulously balanced, voice. Kensington Palace, contextualizing this approach, stated, "The Prince and Princess were profoundly concerned by events that unfolded in late 2023 and continue to hold all the victims, their family and friends, in their hearts and minds. This language is careful. It speaks of victims in the collective, without assignment of blame beyond the established facts of the initial atrocity. It is a diplomacy of the heart, but a disciplined one. The foundation for this dance was laid in the immediate aftermath of the October 7th attacks. The Prince and Princess of Wales were among the first global figures to issue a joint statement in which they condemned Hamas outright, expressing that they were profoundly distressed by the onslaught. They specifically referenced the slaughter of approximately 1,200 people, most civilians, and the seizure of at least 250 hostages. This unambiguous condemnation was a necessary moral line, a clear denunciation of the terrorism that sparked the subsequent conflict. It established a critical baseline, a recognition of the horrific suffering inflicted upon Israeli civilians, which in turn informs the nuanced call to address the catastrophic suffering of civilians in Gaza. One cannot be understood without the other in the prince's public calculus. Therefore, the private visit to the Gazan children is the living embodiment of the principles laid out in those public messages. It is the translation of deep concern for deep cost into a tangible, quiet act. It is the answer to the desperate need for increased humanitarian support manifest not in tons of aid, but in minutes of human recognition. When the palace spokesman said the prince sought to offer a moment of comfort to these young people who have endured experiences no child should ever face, he was giving form to the abstract, sheer scale of human suffering months prior. This is the through line, from public condemnation of violence to a public plea for peace and aid, to a private engagement with its most vulnerable victims. The tone throughout this evolving narrative is one of resolute, hopeful humanity against a backdrop of despair. In his February statement, Prince William voiced a commitment that goes beyond concern. Even in the darkest hour, we must not succumb to the counsel of despair. I continue to cling to the hope that a brighter future can be found, and I refuse to give up on that. This is the emotional engine, a refusal to abandon hope. The visit to the children is precisely that, an act of refusing despair. By sitting with them, by acknowledging their courage and the dedication of their carers, he was enacting that clinging to hope. It is a symbolic investment in a brighter future for those specific children and, by extension, for the region from which they came. Kensington Palace has neatly encapsulated this overarching sentiment. Their Royal Highnesses continue to share in the hope of a better future for all those affected. This is the unifying theme. It binds the condemnation, the diplomatic concern, and the compassionate visit together. It is a hope that is active, not passive. It is a hope that thanks NHS staff, that acknowledges embassy workers, that supports security protocols designed to protect, and that ultimately makes time in a prince's schedule to offer comfort to a frightened child. In conclusion, the story of Prince William meeting evacuated Gazan children is far more than a simple news item about a royal engagement. It is a multifaceted case study in modern monarchy. It demonstrates how a 21st century royal can leverage unique soft power, using a global platform to make principled humanitarian appeals while using a private, personal touch to embody those very principles. It shows a conscious evolution from tradition, embracing a more vocal role on issues of profound human suffering while maintaining a scrupulous balance. It connects the dots between geopolitical tragedy and individual healing, between official statements and human touch. The act seeks to bring comfort, yes, but on a larger scale, it also seeks to model a form of engagement, one that is clear-eyed about violence and complexity, yet steadfast in its focus on human dignity, healing, and an unwavering, active hope. In a conflict often dominated by absolutist rhetoric and dehumanizing narratives,
This quiet, consistent, and compassionate thread represents a distinct and powerful form of leadership. It is a reminder that even amidst the darkest hours, the work of comfort, the expression of gratitude, and the clinging to hope are not merely gestures, but essential components of a path toward that elusive, better future.